Hey everyone, my name is Montana from astrologyforbabes.com, where we talk about astrocartography, astrology, synastry, and other topics related to spirituality through a modern, practical lens. I do offer readings, so feel free to check out the link in the description box for more information on that. But today I'm here to talk to you about Neptune lines in astrocartography. As we know, astrocartography is a subdivision of astrology where, very simply put, we look at your natal chart and map it out longitudinally and latitudinally on a global map in order to find the best and most impactful places for you around the globe in terms of career success, romance, family life, spirituality, etc. So astrocartography can really help answer questions like, will the energy of a certain area be supportive of me towards my specific goal in finding love or boosting my career in marketing or becoming a parent? Or will you actively be working against energies that are objectively difficult or destabilizing or isolating, and what to do about it? So who can astrocartography help? It's really great if you're looking to move somewhere that's in alignment with your goals and where the energy of that area is actually going to help you. Or if you're going on a big vacation and you want to be very intentional about where to go, or if you want to understand more about the energies that are present where you're currently living and how to optimize for them or work around them. It's important to always remember, though, y'all, in astrocartography, when looking at planetary lines like your Neptune line, for instance, you're really just scratching the tip of the iceberg as far as accurately predicting what energies an area is likely to have in store for you. And to truly be more accurate, in addition to checking out your planetary lines, you do want to employ more techniques to look at your astrocartographic map through different lenses. You're going to want to look at the condition of your natal chart. You're going to want to look at your relocated chart for an area potentially. You may want to look at local space lines. You may want to look at current astrological transits that will be happening during the time of your move. But if you're simply looking to understand Neptune lines, this video is an excellent place to start. So let's go ahead and get into it. So let's begin by talking about Neptune and astrology, because so much of astrocartography starts with astrology. So in astrology, Neptune brings a sense of magic, spirituality, the dream world, a higher transcendent type of love, inspiration, mystical intuition. But of course, all of these things are also quite intangible. So Neptune can also bring with it a lack of barriers and a lack of clarity. It's definitely one of those planets that has a very clear shadow side that can be more difficult to deal with when compared to its more positive attributes. Neptune governs fantasy, it governs illusion, imagination, but also escapism and psychic abilities. And if you think about what these themes remind you of, it probably is Pisces, which makes sense because Neptune is the modern ruler of Pisces. So wherever Neptune is located in your chart can show you where you have a sense of magic or a stronger connection to a higher love, or like a transcendent type of spirituality or a transcendent type of creativity. And at the same time, it could also show where you are prone to deception or confusion or a sense of fogginess that maybe causes you to tend to wear rose-colored glasses that, when removed, leaves you feeling a bit confused. So, for example, if you have Neptune conjunct your ascendant in your first house, because the first house affects your presentation and the way you look, you could have a very dreamy Neptune look about you or an ethereal look about you. Venus conjunct Neptune in your second house, for example, can give you a very angelic, delicate, otherworldly singing voice, because the second house in astrology governs your voice. And then Venus-Neptune conjunction, it brings a very ethereal beauty to your singing voice. Neptune conjunct your MC in your 10th house could give you a career that's focused around spirituality, like being a professional astrologer, or leading yoga retreats, for example, or leading meditation retreats. Neptune in your 7th could make your one-on-one relationships feel very beautiful and be a source of inspiration for you, but could also cause you to look at your lovers and your friends through very rose-colored glasses, or cause deception to be a running theme in your relationships throughout your life, which is not fun, right? So all of this is going to help us understand what to expect when dealing with Neptune lines in astrocartography. So let's talk about the general themes that become highlighted in a person's life when they're on a Neptune line. So taking cues from all those astrological signifiers that I just went over in astrocartography, Neptune lines can kind of go one of two ways. They can make you feel like you are in dreamland, and the vibes can be vibing in a way that make you feel like you're on the set of a movie. Or Neptune lines can be confusing places. It really depends on your natal chart. Okay, so one of the themes that a person may experience when they are on a Neptune line is an increased interest in spirituality. Not religion as much, that's more of a Jupiterian thing, but things like meditation, yoga, and interest in crystals and how you can tap into the energy of crystals, herbal medicine as it relates to healing practices from your ancestral line, breath work, Reiki. These topics could come to the forefront of your life in some way through either your actions or your interests or the people that you meet. Another very common theme that may come into play on a Neptune line is that of creativity and imagination. Not so much a type of creativity that's super focused around making money from it, like a Venus line can sometimes indicate like making money from very beautiful things, but more so diving into your imagination through like a lens of divine inspiration almost. Like you go from having a light interest in poetry to feeling so inspired and so connected to your own soul's purpose that you publish a beautiful anthology of poems, right? Or you could start writing dreaming music that brings listeners to tears, or that pull lyrics from this like divine sacred place inside of you that you didn't even know existed. So an increased access to your creative sides and your imagination and sensitivity is a theme on Neptune lines. Okay, well, it's certainly not all sunshine and rainbows when you're on a Neptune line, because deception and illusion are often themes that you could encounter as well. So when you're on a Neptune line, you could find that people misinterpret the message that you're trying to get across. Or you could find that people aren't who they say they are, or that they're one way when you first meet them, only to find out that they lied to you about who they were or what they were really about in some way. It could be hard to establish in a sense of routine and consistency to like the very mundane and boring things in life that lack a sense of magic, but that you have to do to kind of keep your like life moving along in a financial sense or in a practical sense. So you could find it's harder to do those more stable routine things, or you could find that you yourself are a little confused about what your own motives are, or that like your life direction all of a sudden seems foggy, or that you're suffering from a lack of drive to achieve whatever material goals that maybe you had initially established for yourself. So that is a theme to watch out for as well on a Neptune line. Another more difficult aspect of Neptune lines is the increased chance of addictive behaviors coming to the forefront of your life. And so by this, I mean things like drugs or your alcohol intake going way up. Neptune is associated with these things in astrology. So if you have a tendency to kind of go wild with experimentation, or to have really wild nights partying that you tend to have a hard time recovering from, watch out for these things when you're on a Neptune line. Neptune rules escapism. And in our modern society, one way we see that theme of escapism playing out is through using drugs and alcohol to an excess. Another theme, I feel like I'm on like a kind of a negative slant here, but another theme that can be present on Neptune lines is that of losses, losing things. You can find that on a Venus-Neptune Piran, for instance, or a Venus-Neptune crossing point, that you suffer from financial losses that are unexpected, and the circumstances around these losses can be confusing or unclear in some way. You could misplace things. While I am not a doctor and this does not constitute medical advice in any way, you could notice a loss in bodily constitution or vitality if you're someone who tends to already kind of suffer from chronic illness or have flares of a condition that kind of steals your energy. Like, these are things that could potentially pop up more when you're on a Neptune line. You could even potentially suffer from some mental stressors or mental fogginess that causes you to lose clarity in your thinking. Again, like more so if this is something you're already prone to, like these are things that could come up more when you're on a Neptune line because the Neptunian energy supports this already. Neptune lines do not support strength in the material or physical realm, but they do support strength in the astral realm and in the spiritual realm and in the creative realm. So these are just things to keep in mind. And to end things on a more positive note, the final theme that you tend to see on a Neptune line that I'll talk about, and this is kind of hard to describe in like succinct words because it really is more of a vibe. So a lot of the times Neptune lines have this very dreamy, vibey quality to them that you can't quite put your finger on, but you know it's pleasant and you know it's peaceful and it feels very good to move around and walk around and explore this world. It can sometimes feel like you're on the set of a movie or like you're viewing the world and your surroundings through rose-colored glasses. Like it's this dreamy quality in your day-to-day interactions that may not be accurate or lasting, but sure does feel pretty cool. So those are the major themes that people tend to experience on Neptune lines: spirituality and creativity, but also confusion and potentially addictive behaviors that are rooted in escapism and potentially losses coming to the forefront. And like a dreamy vibe that feels really pleasant. Okay, so now let's talk about Neptune lines hitting those 4 very important angles in one's birth chart: the MC, IC, DC, and AC. And again, you're going to want to think about where Neptune is in your natal birth chart and what's going on with it in relation to your sun, for example, or your angular houses to get a better picture of how these energies are going to play out for you personally. But definitely leave me a comment. Have you lived on your Neptune line before? Have you visited a place on a Neptune line? Was it very pleasant? Did you find it to be confusing or hard to get going in like the practical, boring things of life that you have to do? Let me know. I would love to hear about your experiences because that's my favorite part of working with clients, is hearing about their experiences in places that they've already visited. Okay, so let's start with the Neptune MC line. So in your personal natal chart, the MC is your most visible point. It's your highest point in your natal chart. If you want to step into a career that's centered around spirituality, you may enjoy your Neptune MC line. If you want to lead spiritual retreats, or as I mentioned, like become a yoga teacher or start practicing astrology in a more professional way and kind of be known for it in the public sphere, it's going to feel more natural to lean into these things on a Neptune MC line. At the same time, you do want to be wary because, on the other hand, precision and clear communication and decisive action, if these things are important to your current career, a Neptune MC line may not be a place for your career that's rooted around those types of things to thrive. Let's talk about the Neptune IC. This may be my favorite Neptune line because Neptune IC lines bring a very dreamy, spiritual, creative energy to your private life, okay? So what happens in the comfort of your 4 walls that you live in is probably going to feel very peaceful. You may decorate your home in a way that prioritizes a Zen feeling or start to enjoy spending time at home, diving into creative hobbies. I've seen clients move to their Neptune IC line and start doing astrology readings from home. You could also integrate things like yoga and meditation into your home to help turn your 4 walls into a place of healing or a place that feels more sacred to you. And you may just be a little bit more introspective and like homebody vibes, but in a way that's really rooted in like your soul and like your inner peace. At the same time, Neptune lines can bring confusion and deceit into the forefront of your life. And on a Neptune IC line, you could see this play out in your family interactions. So on a Neptune IC line, on a positive note, you do have the opportunity to make your home a place of creativity and imagination and bring spiritual practices into your everyday routine, but watch for fogginess and confusion and potentially deception around your family matters, potentially your maternal line, potentially family secrets. And that's an aspect that could counteract that potential good vibes on a Neptune IC line. Okay, on a Neptune AC line, so On AC lines, in general, you begin to embody the planetary themes. So on a Neptune AC line, it could be great for you if you are looking to become an actor, for example, because Neptune rules the film industry. And on a Neptune AC line, you yourself may find that it's easier to use your imagination to create characters or to step into characters that are believable. If you are already a spiritual person, you could tap into your intuition like never before. You could have dreams that are so vivid and so like dialed in that they feel borderline prophetic. You could also dive deep into your creative impulses, so deep that you potentially lose sight of other, again, more practical, grounded parts of life, because you really do begin to embody this Neptunian energy. And Neptunian energy is very borderless and boundaryless and very wispy. So that's something that you could begin to take on yourself. Another thing is AC lines very much have to do with the body in astrocartography, and so you may want to guard against any addictive behaviors or watch for a tendency to overindulge in drugs or alcohol as a way of escape. As I mentioned earlier, this is one of those lines where if you tend to suffer a lot from chronic illness or have something going on in your life around that already, you'll want to be very watchful because Neptune does not support vitality and vigor. Also, your thoughts could be a source of confusion for you. So take care of your bodily health, take care of your mental health. So in summary, on a Neptune AC line, your creativity will be on high, but be careful to stay grounded and keep sight of those mundane, boring things that we need to do in order to stay a functioning member of society, and also guard against addictive behaviors or a tendency to lose yourself in that type of thing. Lastly, let's talk about Neptune DC lines. So this is one of the more difficult Neptune lines that I would say, because on a Neptune DC line, you may find that it becomes more difficult to see your one-on-one relationships clearly. Not that this will necessarily even be your fault, it's just that connections here could be very confusing, or you could find people to be very flaky. You could also find that lovers and friends present themselves very differently to you initially, only to flip the script, and it turns out that they're very different than who they initially introduced themselves to you, or the persona that they initially showed you. The element of deception in your romances is going to potentially be very strong here. That being said, you could also experience the most loving and beautiful otherworldly connections that feel like a gift from the heavens above. But again, keep in mind that this Neptunian energy is very ethereal. It's not super sturdy and it's not super reliable. So the question that you may find yourself asking or finding out the answer to is, will this type of ethereal, dreamy love be able to last and go the distance? And was it founded on accurate perceptions? So on a Neptune DC line, in summary, be sure to treat your connections with a little extra dose of cautiousness, and try not to let it bother you as much if you find that people are just mega flaky and hard to pin down. So again, I do want to emphasize one more time that you do need to use a variety of astrocartographic techniques in order to really understand how these different energies are going to play out for you in your life based on your natal chart, because everyone's natal chart is so different. Also, you may want to look at your local space lines, look at current transits to see what's really going on there with some of those slower moving planets, and you may want to look at your relocated chart. If you have any questions, feel free to book a reading with me. My information is below, and I'm excited to chat with you again sometime soon.